What does falling in love feel like for you?
I think falling in love for me is like realizing that the person I'm with, I like, can't breathe without them.
You can stop being an asshole, but I can't stop being a Latina. I am a Latina, and I'm always going to be a Latina until I die.
I'm done talking about fucking marriage. Like, this is stupid.
I can have emotions.
You can. Yeah.
Just because the way you associate your life with being calm all the time and quiet, that doesn't mean that I am like that. And it's okay if I raise my voice.
Absolutely.
It doesn't mean I'm an angry woman.
It's also okay for me not to be ready to have this confrontation.
I feel like my whole life, like, I've been let down by, like, everyone that I trust.
You are home to me, but I can't see my home with someone else.
Are you excited to come home?
Yeah.
Will you marry me? Is that a yes?
You're perfect, you know that?
Someone who is covertly narcissistic is the introverted version of an overtly narcissistic person. And an overtly narcissistic person is someone who bulldozes over people and their boundaries, and their self-importance is apparent moments after talking to them. But someone who is covertly narcissistic will internalize that self-importance. They're still hyper-focused on that need for attention, but they will go about getting it in more discreet ways, like manipulating others the way Yoli does, or playing the victim like Mildred does. So it takes a while to spot the narcissism in someone who is covertly narcissistic like these two, and it's easy to get sucked in. That's why it took Mel and Tiff until the reunion to figure things out.
The tough part about it is I reflect on the whole thing and I'm like, oh, I've known this person for 5 years and you feel like a dangerous stranger to me.
I actually have them in my... Are you actually have them?
Mildred.
Every time you talk, it just like makes this like ear, like it just hurts my ear.
And an honorable mention in this video to someone else in the cast who displays covertly narcissistic traits is Lexi, with her delusions of grandeur that also come out in very discreet ways in her fixation that Vanessa is out to get her.
If I had never figured Vanessa out.
What? Do you think that she's out to get you?
Yeah.
By the way, it's worth noting that we're not diagnosing people here with a personality disorder. I'm just pointing out narcissistic traits. But speaking of Lexi's obsession and fixation on Vanessa, many of them in the cast feel the same way. Like, they're all calling her out, like, what are her intentions? She's here to get famous.
I don't think she's here for the right reasons. Really is only here because she wants to be famous.
She doesn't understand the intentions of Vanessa. And to be honest, I don't either. Why is Vanessa here?
But excuse me, you're all on a reality TV show putting your love life on display. You all want attention. Or Yoli, who really hated Vanessa right from the beginning.
All right, if Vanessa wasn't here, then I would have dated everyone in this table.
But we're gonna get to Yoli's relationship with Vanessa later on in this video. But I do want to mention something about Vanessa. I think the reason why she was provoking everybody is because she's overtly narcissistic.
I'm actually an Instagram influencer. I like get paid to do content. So yeah, I'm like an Instagram poet base.
Okay. That's aggressive, I can't.
And it really reminds me of, you know how like in a family unit, there would be someone with a very visible mental health or psychological disorder, and they just kind of expose everybody else's hidden disorders. And don't you worry, we're not leaving out Aussie and Sam. And by the way, Sam, even though Aussie's a lot to deal with, and we're also gonna get into that in the video, Sam is very codependent.
Now you can eat your feelings. I know.
Yeah, when I look at someone like Sam, I ask myself, like, why are you still here? Why are you so fixated on saving someone and playing their therapist? And it really reminds me of something else in my past, because for the longest time, I was always the one who's like, oh my God, I need to help these people. Oh my God, these broken, damaged people. Like, what? Girl. But still, despite all that, Sam is the most well-adjusted cast member from Ultimatum Queer Love. I mean, she's the only one you can imagine yourself being friends with because she's actually reasonable and you can have a dialogue with her without things going from 0 to 100 in a second. But yet she voluntarily signed up for a show whose concept is bonkers.
Tonight, you're all here because someone in your relationship has issued an ultimatum. But each of you are compatible with multiple people here. And then at the end of the week, you're gonna get a chance to choose someone you'll move in together for 3 weeks in a trial marriage. And then you'll do the same thing all over again with the person that you arrived with.
Yeah, and someone like Sam put herself through the ringer not just with Aussie, but also with Tiff, her trial wife. And speaking of Sam and Tiff, they're actually my favorite cast members from Ultimatum Queer Love because, I don't know, maybe because they went through the most, which is why joining me this week is Anna Runkle, dressed as my mother, giving some advice to all of them including Sam and Tiff, about why it's better off to stay single than join something as crazy as this.
It takes a lot of patience, doesn't it? Because part of you really wants to be in a relationship. But what you don't want to do is the same old thing where you just take whatever is available because it's better than nothing. No relationship is not nothing at all. It's freedom, it's joy, it's fun. It's closer to true love than you've ever been, because when you're in a bad relationship, you're a million miles away from true love. The intermediary step from a bad relationship to the love of your life is being single. I know you. You're a very secure person. I think you have a lot of self-affinity. You love yourself. You're able to do this. You're not desperate.
Hey y'all, it's me in Denial, your drag therapist. I'm back, baby! And this week, by very popular demand, I'm analyzing the show Ultimatum Queer Love, because something about this show, it's captured the imagination of a lot of people. First of all, the concept is crazy and we love trash TV, blah, blah, blah. But I think there's something very authentic because the stakes are very high for these characters. And I think there's also this other layer of it being very authentically queer that it's really eye-opening. I mean, me and my friends who are also men have been discussing this show and women and in ways that have really opened up our eyes to gender and non-binary and all those things.
I would say I have to say flat out, you're the most masculine person I've ever been on a date with.
Fair.
But yeah, fair enough.
I think for now. I think you might find out later.
Also, a little something. My last video didn't do as well in terms of views, of course, because it's not attached to a reality TV or something that is very popular online. But still, to quote Mal,
my ego is shattered. My ego hurts.
So like, comment, subscribe, and share. And by the way, if you live in LA or around LA, I'm playing 3 times next week at the Actors Company in West Hollywood. And as I always say, I'm in denial so you can wake up.
Hit it, Toots.
Most of us are familiar with the overtly narcissistic traits, right? Like the lack of empathy, the hyper-focus on fantasies of grandeur, surrounding yourself with superficial relationships, and need for excessive admiration. But in this video, we're focused on the traits of the covertly narcissistic person. And we're gonna do that through examples of Mildred and Yoli. And through Mildred, we're gonna branch off to Tiff, and then Mildred's trial wife, Aussie. And through Aussie, we're gonna talk about Sam. And then through Yoli, we're gonna talk about Mal, her original partner, and Xander, her trial wife. And then through Xander, we're going to talk about Vanessa. And then through Vanessa, we're going to talk about the triangle that she was involved with Lexi and Ray. So let's start with the first sign of covert narcissism, which is the chronic innocent lying. Narcissists in general lie effortlessly and with ease, but the overtly narcissistic people will always lie to inflate their ego, will make up lies about, how great their lives are, while the covert narcissistic people will always lie to deflect or get out of trouble. But still, they also hide it with ease, like when Yoli was confronted by Vanessa at the reunion about the trip that she wanted to go with Xander to Hawaii. To Hawaii? And then Xander basically confirmed what Vanessa was saying, that yes, they were trying to go to Hawaii. And she's like, oh, yeah. Girl.
I was surprised when I did find out that her and Yoli were planning a trip to Hawaii. It was
to Hawaii?
Jarring. Can you confirm that, Xander?
We had mentioned that you were going to try and come out at some point.
Oh, okay.
And then again, at that cocktail party, when Vanessa confronted her about the selfies that she was asking for and the flirtation which is fine. I mean, you can flirt all you want, but it's the lying.
We had asked for a selfie, and it was just like, there were a few things that made me uncomfortable, like...
Well, but I didn't hear that when you told me.
And I didn't think that happened, but okay. The message said, I don't want to see it if it's not a selfie, winky face. And then you sent a photo. In response, yes, I can see that.
And again, Xander, bless Xander, by the way, he confirmed that he and Yoli were actually, I just called him he. See what I mean? This show really challenged my view on non-binary, because a lot of these mass-presenting characters on the show, I found it weird to call them she. I mean, I don't mean to misgender anyone, like, please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, and anyway, we're going to talk about the gender thing at the end of the video, but I just thought it's interesting. But anyway, Xander confirmed the lie that Yoli found herself in, and then, of course, because she was cornered by Xander confirming that, she was like, oh yeah, I can see that. The way how she can just easily lie and act like that is scary. And another trait of covertly narcissistic people is this subliminal superiority, which you kind of exert power and superiority over people through like dismissive comments and eye rolling and things that are very passive aggressive. And Yoli did that a lot towards Vanessa. Like at the reunion when Vanessa brought up that Yoli was hooking up with Xander at Coachella.
Was that your big reveal, Vanessa?
That's not the point. The point is she's exposing you, but she just turns it around. And I love how she's shaming Vanessa for stirring the pot at the reunion, but that's what they're all there for. This is the purpose of the reunion, to bring up stuff. And she herself interfered in the mess between Tiff and Mildred.
I'm not telling you to do that.
So how did it come up? How did it come up? If you didn't tell her to split it, I'm just curious. If you didn't tell her to split it, how did it come up?
Don't you worry, we're gonna get into Tiff and Mildred, because Mildred, girl, no. Back to Yoli and this like kind of passive-aggressive ways of exerting power and making herself feel more important than others. Like, even though she was literally sleeping with Xander and having sex with him, she's trying to gossip about Vanessa for sleeping with Ray, and she's trying to act like she doesn't want to tell Xander about it.
But then there's some information shared, and then
what information shared?
That is for you and her.
Okay.
You want me to tell you?
I mean, I get it.
If you want me to, I can.
I don't need you to.
Okay. Because I'm like, I will. I don't want to.
Girl, you want to gossip? Just gossip. You can tell I love Yoli, right? I love her just as much as I love Meghan Markle, which is a lot. Yeah, but again, the irony is that she was hooking up with Xander. She's doing the same. Like, also don't understand this thing like what everyone was attacking Vanessa, but you're literally having a trial marriage with somebody. Like, that's what you would do in a trial marriage. Actually have sex. Girl, be intimate or whatever it is. Like, but she continued with the holier-than-thou attacks against Vanessa.
I know the value she brings to your life. She brings it to my life. What value are you bringing to her life?
I'm sorry, who are you to demand from Vanessa? Like, what are you bringing to Xander's life? Like, what? It's none of your business. That's a conversation that she can have with Xander. And what are you bringing? She can bring tomatoes. She can bring watermelons. And it took me a while to figure out, like, what is her problem with Vanessa? But I think she's actually jealous because on the very first meeting when all the couples met, Vanessa was flirting with Mal and she was like, cheers to a trial marriage.
Mal, cheers to our trial marriage.
They're cute.
Which brings us to the third sign, which is chronic envy and jealousy. And by the way, Yoli is not the only one who is jealous, chronically jealous, because Mildred, at that reunion, when she was like trying to come up with things of why Tiff is a bad person, she started accusing her of cheating and bringing women to the house. And then when it was revealed that Tiff had already broken up, so she had every right to date anyone, she was like, oh, but I was paying for the rent. Oh, some of the rent. And then when that was shut down, it's like, oh, but there were sex board games.
You changed the passcode on your phone. You decided to open a dating app and bring women to the house.
What did I bring a woman to the house?
When
did I bring a woman to the house, Mildred? We were broken up.
We were broken up, but I was still paying rent there and my things were still there.
Am I allowed to be on a dating app?
No one's judging you for it, and that's okay.
Well, you just did.
Well, I'm judging you for having me take care of some bills and having my things in the home that we created. And there was just all these like sex board games for me.
I got enough of an imagination. I don't need no fucking board games. Like, what are you talking about?
I actually have them. They came in the mail.
Is that your gaslighting, Mildred? You said you found them on the floor. So did they come in the mail or you found them on the floor? And also just like, this is, by the way, classic of narcissists, the word salad. Just throwing things and interrupting everybody, and then you just create this confusion. Yeah, the thing is, we all get jealous, right? But it becomes pathological when it's based on nothing factual, and you're convinced, and you're doubling down. Yeah, by the way, Mildred is certifiably insane. I mean, I didn't certify her, and I'm not a doctor, but girl. Girl! And speaking of Miss Mildred, the fourth sign of covert narcissism is playing the victim. This woe is me. Oh my God, I'm such a martyr. Yeah, Mildred's thing throughout the season is that people leave her. But she creates a situation where it's impossible to stay with her. She not only pushes buttons, she is so combative and so emotionally violent and just attacking that it's impossible to stick around. And then they leave and she's like, oh, there you go, it's confirmed. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. She creates this loop where, see, I told you they're gonna leave me, but what about your actions that are driving people away? But of course, like all bad behavior, it's rooted in genuine childhood trauma. Like in her case, it's abandonment. But the point is, what are you doing today to recreate? And Mildred has this pattern. She starts out very soft with a smile, like,
I know you're not a morning person.
I think our schedules are pretty in sync, apart from you being a morning person. Like, you like to get up super early.
I have to get ready for work. And then I have to clean, you know? And then I have to wait for you to come out of the bathroom. That's a lot.
She's itching to start a fight. Like, she can't help herself because... so you didn't do what you promised?
Yeah, I don't know what to say.
And because the universe always gives us what we need, not what we want, it sent her someone like Aussie, who just avoids confrontation.
I'm not good with conflict and confrontation. I want to like just disappear.
And you really see Mildred's need to provoke at that party when she met Sam, Aussie's original partner. And she's trying to find out like what's wrong with Aussie, like how she can handle him.
By not talking about it when Aussie's in a triggered state.
And when is Aussie not in a triggered state?
Aussie will usually have to go and like listen to meditations, and then that's when you can have the conversation.
When is Aussie fully meditated?
And again, her ability to drive people away, it's not just to her partners, like Tiff, her original partner, and Aussie, even to small interactions like she has with Xander. When she's confronting Xander about Vanessa, the combative way in which she does it, even drives Xander away.
Saying that you're not here to talk about Vanessa, that is you excusing her and dismissing her behavior. Own up to the fact that that's the person you came with.
I'm not excusing her. You, but I'm not excusing her.
But for me, the most hilarious and telling and kind of like tragic example of her combativeness and how she provokes people is that fight that she had with Aussie when they were in separate rooms. And Aussie's just ironing because, you know, when Aussie brings out the iron, you know, shit hit the fan because that's their way of coping. Let me iron. Nothing bad is happening. And Mildred's putting on her makeup and she's like, oh, I love how we communicate. How come we never communicate this way? Like she's just stoking the fire.
You don't need the bathroom?
Not just yet. I'm ironing my shirts.
Okay, but do you need it like...
I might need it at the end.
Yeah, like, but what does the end mean? Like, how much time?
Maybe 15 minutes.
Okay, cool. How come we never communicate like this? This is cool.
We've been doing it, mate.
We just did it one time, Aussie.
Okay. I wasn't keeping track. I really don't care, mate. Whatever you need.
Yeah, but you still have to be considerate of other people.
I was avoiding this right now because I'm not in a place to talk to you when you're like this.
You had 2 weeks to talk to me when I was calm.
No,
but now I'm not calm.
I need to, well, I need to.
And now all of a sudden you don't want to talk to me?
I'm having all of these like feelings from like being abandoned in my life. You know, my mother abandoned me when I was 5 years old. Then my father left, and it just kept going and going and going, and then I got married, and then they left. It just feels like that again. I don't want to start telling myself that I did something wrong or that it's my fault, because it's not my fault, and I don't want it to feel like it's my fault.
Now, this is where you hear this a lot. My needs aren't being met. Those are people who never got full and shiny and healed in themselves, not getting their needs met by somebody else, which somebody else couldn't have met. Can't solve the problem that you have a big wound from childhood.
And she's so manipulative because early on in the season, she's creating a drama in Tiff. Like by trying to tell Tiff that I am finding attraction to other people. She's like, oh, I'm not thinking about you anymore. That makes me so sad that we're not connecting. I'm connecting with everybody else. She starts crying and walks away, kind of like pulling Tiff to her.
Sometimes I'm in my room and I think of you, and I'm not wondering if you're thinking of me. Like, I've been going on all these dates, you know, and I don't feel nervous. I just feel hopeful.
I understand that Mildred is taking this very seriously and that she has a right to connect with whoever she wants.
I've been wanting nothing but to connect with you.
Let me ask you something. Do you feel like we're connecting now?
And that's the thing with these two. Their connection is based on sexual chemistry alone.
I don't want to toot my horn or anything, but she really likes what I do in bed.
Yes, ma'am. Mildred is spicy as hell. But who wants to date a boring person?
Yeah, you want something boring. You need something boring. Oh, who wants something boring? You, girl. And to go back to that sign of victimhood and how Mildred uses it. At the reunion, if you notice, when she brought up that, oh, I'm a mother and I'm a struggling mother, because Mildred has a special needs son, which I'm sure is a lot to deal with. But she was accusing Tiff of, like, you know, having a problem with her son. But Tiff was very upfront, just like, I was having a hard time connecting with your son. And that's a very valid thing to say, because it is hard to deal with someone with special needs. And Tiff owned up to it. Yeah, I had a hard time connecting. She didn't abuse the kid. She was just, I couldn't connect. And that's difficult. But again, she's like, I will always be a mother first. Yeah. Okay, I don't mean to take away from the pain of being, you know, a mother to someone who's special needs. I'm sure she struggles with that, but she uses it.
Yeah, I did have a problem with connecting with your son, absolutely. I did. I tried.
I come with a package, and my son will always be first. I will always be a mother first.
And by the way, I rewatched the season after the ending, after the reunion, because I wanted to take notes for this video. And I couldn't help but wonder, like, if all this rage and resentment and the way she keeps poking is actually built up resentment that she has towards her son, or having to deal with that. Because by all accounts, like, she treats her son with a lot of respect, which is amazing. But I think maybe she's, you know, all this is like pent up energy that she's just putting up against everyone. But anyway, I'm just speculating, of course. And again, it must be very difficult to deal with a son who has special needs. But still, she is toxic as hell towards the other people.
I'm speaking right now. I need to finish, okay? You don't have that power over me anymore. What?
As if Tiff could control you, please. And the biggest proof of that is that later on, she talks about being arrested for basically physically assaulting Tiff.
It's really hard for me to say, you know, I was arrested. I threw a picture frame and I broke it and the glass shattered everywhere. And I threw a peg gate at you and it was really heavy.
Yeah, so Tiff called the police on her because Mildred hit her with the dog gate. But then later on, post-show and post-reunion, Tiff posted my side of the story about that. And she said something very interesting about that arrest.
And as soon as I called the police, from my experience, she immediately stopped throwing things at me in that moment. She sat down, started screaming and crying, and she told me this: "Look at what you did. They're going to take my son away from me."
Again, that victimhood thing. Naughty, 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 Mildred. And by the way, side note, which confirms for me like why I'm making this video, that Yoli and Mildred are classic examples of covert narcissism, because it takes one to know one. If you notice at the reunion, when Mildred just was driving Tiff insane, the only one who came to her defense is Yoli. She's like, "Do you need anything? Do you want water? It's a lot, right? It's a lot." Girl, it's not a lot. She's putting herself and others through this.
Do you need water? Do you need anything? That's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot.
We'll talk more in depth about Yoli later on, but let me finish the Tiff and Mildred story. Yeah, the original problem between Tiff and Mildred is that they don't share the same values about marriage and the foundation of marriage. And as the marriage was coming closer, the proposal, it was starting to come up, like issues with Mildred's ex-wife.
The fact is, you were actually never in love with your ex-wife, yet you married her. That's very scary. Your version of love is all over the place. Maybe you just want these ideas of marriage more so than you actually want the person.
But because of the narcissistic abuse that Tiff went through, she couldn't see clearly that Mildred is not a good match for her. But someone like Tiff gets pulled back in every time by someone like Mildred, because she too has a warped idea of love. And it also comes from her own upbringing and her own messed up ideas about love.
I see failed marriages everywhere around me.
And even though on the surface she doesn't want the same toxicity with her parents, and she thinks she's avoiding it by thinking about it and being obsessed and being afraid of it, she's actually drawing it closer to her. So she ends up confusing toxicity with love the same way she confuses sex with love.
I won't come back after this.
Do you wanna work your way over here for a little kiss?
And Anna wants to give Tiff a little bit of advice on that.
If you listen to pop music and you watch TV, then right away it comes together and everybody has sex and then they're together forever. But especially as people who had trauma, we just go a little bit slower so that we can get our information before we bond. And this is the most difficult thing, is delaying sex a little bit. That's the secret. That's the secret.
I actually found her on an Instagram hashtag that's really embarrassing.
The hashtag was lesbian Latina.
Yeah, without even having to label it. In our experience, well, I won't say our experience, in my experience, what that led to instead was this round and round on a merry-go-round of getting all attached to somebody, getting disenchanted, trying to change them, getting all freaked out, having a horrible breakup, and repeating the cycle again and again.
How many times would you say you guys break up? I think it happens like once a week, and there's 52 weeks in a year. Why not go to therapy together? Like, why not try couples therapy? We went to couples therapy. Therapist gave up on us. She fired you. You know that, right?
And speaking of Tiff, let's talk about her trial wife, Sam, who came to her defense at the reunion.
I did have a
erupt. Like, it was hard to connect to her son, but there's...
You don't... Yeah,
like, what the fuck,
you don't,
dude?
you don't need to prove anything to her, okay? Now you're done, right? Like, now this is your realization?
Yeah, this woman is a natural-born therapist, but something tells me there's something in her background that makes her addicted to rescuing people. Yeah, because even though she kept saying throughout the season, especially towards the end, that she's a changed woman and she's learned what she wants and what she doesn't want, and she doesn't want someone who avoids her like Aussie, she stayed with Aussie till the very end, even though at the reunion, when all was said and done, they still did not get married, and Aussie did not come out to his family that he's even gay or told about, I keep saying he, god damn it, they did not come out to their family that they're dating Sam, and Sam is still with her.
I'm trying to embrace me, and I'm trying to be more open, and
your family really didn't know where you... Have you met?
Not yet.
Do they know about Sam?
They don't yet.
But let's go back to the beginning with these two.
When we first touched hands, it was like something that you see in the movies. I am ready to get married.
Just also, like, I'm so, like anxious right now. Like, my heart is... I don't know, I almost...
Okay, even right now, you keep trying to defend yourself, but there's no need for that because I'm talking.
New version of Sam. This is the new Sam.
Can you just entertain the idea that the reason why you don't like how I act now is because I'm not just giving in to all of your needs every single time?
I'm sorry, that's bullshit. No, that's bullshit.
But you're calling her actual feelings bullshit?
Prior to coming here, I feel like I would just kind of let things slide, and I think I was a little bit too forgiving of certain behaviors. I just can't settle for that anymore, and I think I'm just not willing to do that.
Will you marry me?
Yes.
Yeah, it's hard to know why someone like Sam accepts this, but it must be something in the childhood, because even though she says that her childhood home was open-minded, which I'm sure it was.
My family's pretty accepting. They're very open-minded. Right.
What a family.
I know.
I hear about these sorts of families all the time on TV.
There must be some problem there. Maybe she was parentified or forced to be in that position where she has to take care of people's needs and put her needs last. Yeah, this reminds me of something Gabor Mate, this trauma specialist and psychotherapist and also addiction specialist, talked about once, where he was having one of his talks, and at the end he opens the floor to questions, right? And someone told him that, you know what, I keep getting stuck in these cycles of addiction. I don't remember if it was actual drugs or addicted to bad relationships, but there's nothing wrong with my childhood. Like, why? I'm just curious. And then it took Gabor less than 3 minutes to actually scratch the surface on that and figure out that actually the childhood wasn't as happy as he thought it was. And for me, this really points to Sam. Even though her childhood might have been happy, like free of actual, like, very apparent abuse, maybe she was trained to push her needs down, which is a form of neglect and, dare I say, emotional abuse. But anyway, this is all speculation, right? But what we do know for sure is Aussie's background, because Aussie met up with their brother, who revealed kind of like through that meeting, it was apparent that they were raised by parents, especially the mother, who told them what to think, what to say.
I feel like the way we were raised, our parents, especially mom, would like tell us every little thing we need to do.
Yeah.
And
what did you think? She's asking me like, hey, do you want to meet my friend's son who's a doctor?
Denial's a powerful thing.
I would like to experience what it would be like to grow up in a happy home.
And something that really stood out for me with Aussie is that every time they were confronted by something, they just wanted to run, like a little child who felt they did something wrong.
I love you. Okay, I just don't feel safe with you just yet.
That is something that is not easy for anybody to hear. Like, a lot of times I literally feel like I'm bending backwards to help create a safe space for you. So, moving forward, like, how do you see that situation changing, though?
I feel like that's not, like, a hard thing to answer. Like,
Do you hear it right now?
I feel annoyed.
Yeah, why? Why are you feeling annoyed?
Why are you asking me that dumb question?
oh,
You're not in listening mode right now?
because you're telling me that I did something wrong.
No.
That I did something wrong.
But of course, it all became very clear in that very uncomfortable, painful scene to watch in the parking lot on the curb, where they just broke down and they were just telling us about the childhood where they were just literally told that they were wrong.
You know where it takes me back to is my childhood. When I would be blamed for everything. And it was not even my fault. I didn't do shit. I fucking didn't do shit. I fucking didn't do shit.
We all like drama in our reality TV, but something about this scene felt like, should we be watching this? This person needs help. And even though it's very easy to assume, okay, they just broke down and cried and let it all out, this is just the beginning. This kind of pain, buried pain, it's not enough to just cry about it once and just almost like vomit it out. You need to heal and learn tools, because Aussie should not be in a relationship with anyone. They should be in therapy. Girl. And you know Aussie's issues rooted in childhood, because on their way to the proposal, they were talking about themselves like, oh, I was always told to be the perfect kid. Aussie's 42, for context, by the way.
I used to think that in order to get married, I had to be the most perfect person, the most perfect kid.
And that ironing, girl. Oh my God. Every time Aussie brings out the iron, I'm like, oh shit.
I'm feeling really scared. It's now time to make my final decision.
And that's why Anna's here to give Aussie some advice.
There's like these crocodiles in the water when you're in the honeymoon phase. And they come up and tell you things like, you don't deserve this. So much comes up. So much comes up. It turns out like there's a cactus inside sometimes, where we can be craving love and we want love to come to us. But if somebody gets close enough, there's these defended walls and sharp objects. They're like, don't you dare come in here, even as we're begging them to be closer to us and love us. I think it's a developmental delay a little bit when you never really got loved properly. Maybe some people were learning this when they were 16 and 22.
I have a hard time figuring out who I am in terms of like my relationship from what I experienced in, when I was younger.
Yeah, we're learning it later and we can learn it faster, but learning how to be comfortable after being hurt so many times, to let somebody in even closer, bringing them into your circle of friends and your family, and all those places where it's going to be so humiliating if you get hurt again like you did before.
And now I'd like to move on to the fifth sign of covert narcissism, which is, look at how good I am, how noble I am. Going above and beyond, burning yourself out by overextending yourself for the sake of other people just to be perceived as good. Again, we're not diagnosing a personality disorder, we're just pointing out traits here, so please calm down, girl. And for this specific trait, I'd like to use Lexi as an example.
I've spent the last 3 years fighting your timeline to give you what you wanted. I've never been put first in this relationship.
Just a little side note, is it just me or are lesbians really into speaking in poetry?
You didn't give me commitment, you gave me a key.
Love is a very short word. It's easy to spell.
We'll meet again if it's right, and it might be at a taco truck. Or it might be in another life when we're both birds.
But anyway, back to Lexi and her petty behavior. Backstory time, because it's very important to put things into context why Lexi is so angry at Vanessa. Because Lexi came in with her original partner, Ray, right? Whom, by the way, she talks about as if Ray is this child that she needs to control.
I knew coming into this that Ray was going to trust the people around her.
Like as if Ray is just being used by Vanessa. And maybe she is, but that's part of the problem. Like, why are you with someone whom you treat like a kid and you're being their parent? There is something off in that dynamic. But anyway, so Ray was the trial marriage of Vanessa. So when she went off with Vanessa, they had one night where they were intimate, something happened, it was called Fingergate maybe.
We can't talk about Lexi and Ray without talking about Fingergate.
Which is kind of gross, but anyway, Lexi could not let it go.
You think I made like really intense eye contact with her? Like I didn't. She still clearly has power in this relationship. It sucks, but oh my God. I'm not asking you to walk away right now. Why are we even talking about this situation? Like, because I want to feel supported. Doesn't mean I need to like not look someone in the eye ever. Like,
she even told her parents about it. Like, what? Why are you telling your parents?
I would like to ask you, like, what would you do with the person that you know just betrayed your trust and was intimate with someone else.
And by the way, speaking of Lexi's parents, I think Lexi's need to control everything comes from this need, which again wasn't really told to us clearly on the show, but I get the feeling that she always wanted to live up to her parents' expectations.
It's really weird seeing my ex at the cocktail party because I know my mom bought her that dress.
Yeah, she really is like a child, like a teenager specifically, like just so sure of her thoughts and her beliefs. Even the way she was talking about Mel, her trial marriage.
Oh, Mel, I feel like I know you better than I know 99% of the people in the world.
Yeah, that literally happened 2 days after they met.
You can give anything and everything to anyone. Doesn't matter 10 minutes, an hour, or a lifetime.
And by the way, her relationship with Mel was always off.
Cheers to winning. Oh, we won the game so hard.
Both of them are trying to convince themselves, but especially Lexi, like she's constantly talking in this, like she knows everything, which is probably what drives someone like Ray away, but also pulls someone like Ray away because Ray is very confused. So that's what she's probably drawn to Lexi, that kind of self-assuredness, which is kind of empty self-assuredness. And you know it's empty because it presents itself as the need to control everything. Even in the trial marriage with Mel, she's constantly talking about, oh, so what is our night routine? And what are our spooning positions? Do we check the phones? Like constantly, she needs to know everything.
So, what's our night routine like? So what's gonna be our first night? Like we're watching a movie, cuddle position. You think you have multiple soulmates?
Yeah, I think you can.
I think you're one of mine. Oh shit. You don't need to say it back, it's good. I'm fine.
Yeah, that was funny. And Mel is clearly not interested in Lexi, and that's what pisses me off, the hypocrisy. Because you know, if Mel was interested in her, she would have had sex with her.
Hello, you.
So this whole being angry at Ray for sleeping with Vanessa, Also, another thing with her anger towards Vanessa, that Vanessa's here for fame and the wrong reasons. But what about you? Did you check out her Instagram, by the way, Lexi? It's all featuring her boobs.
She's got a lot of what I like. I'm sorry, parents.
So who's doing this for attention? But I think the real reason for her frustration and her pent-up anger is that she didn't get laid on the show. Because from the beginning, I mean, there was a complete 180 at the beginning. When she and Vanessa were flirting, she wanted Vanessa.
I swear, I think I've been referring to you as a curveball. And I've been thinking about it a lot more than I would care to admit.
And that's why it's so weird how guilty she was trying to make Ray feel.
I felt like the worst person in the world for a long time. It still gets me worked up to think to feel like I hurt someone that I love.
And you know what's the most interesting thing about this triangle between Ray, Lexi, and Vanessa is that it reveals that sex and ease around sex is not for all gay people. People assume that gay people are just so easy around sex and they just have sex with everybody. But gay people can also get fixated on their feelings and form attachment to people just after one night. I mean, maybe for someone like Vanessa, she came in here just to have fun.
I think it would be best if this experience just became a polyamorous orgy.
Maybe it's easy, this fluidity around sex, but not for everyone, especially someone like Ray. And that's why Anna wants to give Ray some advice.
It's oh, gay culture. People say this to me all the time. It's no, Anna, gay culture means, that we always have sex. Well, you can do that, get your experience. And if that ends up being really painful for you or causing you to get bonded with people you don't actually want to be with, try it like your grandparents. Just ask your soul, what do I really need right now? What do I really need? How much time do I need to get to know somebody before it's safe to open the floodgate of everything that happens for me once I have sex with somebody? And to that tender part inside that needs to be loved and not rejected.
But I think Ray's issue is with insecurity, how nothing she thinks she is.
I don't know why. I don't know why anyone likes me, to be honest.
And of course, it's impossible to talk about Ray and Lexi without talking about Vanessa.
People fall in love with me pretty easily. It's game on.
And of course, she rattled everyone because her narcissism is so overt and it's on 100 at all times.
I got my nipples pierced.
And she knows what she's doing. She knows she's teasing.
Oh, Lexi's gonna love that picture.
But when it comes to Vanessa'S Own Storyline with the partner that she came with, Xander, what's very interesting is that they ended up in a complete opposite position than when they came. Because when they first came, Xander really wanted to marry her and she was not interested. And she was even oh, I'm beautiful. Xander wants me because Xander's asexual without me. Xander's just, Vanessa.
We thought this experience was a good idea. That's why we're here.
I kind of don't want to do this anymore. Let's just be together.
That brings us right back to where we are right now, where you want to get married and I don't. Don't get mad at me if I like someone, right?
Plot twist though, Xander fell for Yoli, their trial wife.
You are special.
And that's when Vanessa did a 180, after it was becoming very apparent that Xander and Yoli are into each other.
There's so many examples of the way that you just like, I just know that if we were to have a life together, like you would be able to support whatever it is that we want. Thank you.
It's hard, obviously, to hear this. I want a marriage with you now, and I hope you're open to that, because I want you.
Yeah, and I love that scene with Vanessa's dad when he called her out.
Undeniable that you'd be willing to maybe do something that you wouldn't have done before because of that fear of loss.
There's a
right?
part.
But it has to be there.
Yeah, he's basically telling her that you're not into Xander, you're just afraid of losing them. And by the way, I love someone like Vanessa's dad, because he's, even though he maybe seem unorthodox or, you know, not traditional for a lot of people because of his views on marriage, that he views marriage as a lease.
Marriage should be like a lease, like a 7-year lease. At the end of the 7 years, you decide whether you want to renew it or not. If you don't, you both walk away. So.
But actually, he's got a lot of honesty and integrity, which I think he passed on to Vanessa. Even though Vanessa's annoying and she's really loud and she always wants attention, she's honest about it, unlike the others. And I think that's her redeeming quality, is that she has a dad like that. And it's very interesting when she describes her dad, it almost sounds like she's describing herself, because she's many things and she's driving people insane.
It's very hard to describe my dad because he's this like successful businessman, but he's also a big goofball. So I don't know what version of Mark we're gonna get today.
But her storyline with her dad and his free spirit and his not being with one partner really made me think of, who's Vanessa's mother? Because she's not talked about and Vanessa's dad is clearly not with her. It made me think, does she have an absent mother? Of course, I'm just speculating again. Because Vanessa's attraction towards women and her thing for women, because she calls herself pansexual, right? She's only dated men before.
Vanessa and I met when we were seniors in high school and our boyfriends were best friends.
The last time I was in the dating world, I was mainly dating men. So this is like a huge change for me.
And you feel like there were never any stakes for her. Like she's not actually interested in women. And I wonder if her thing for women is a way of maybe replacing an absent mommy figure. I don't know. But I always sensed that she was not really into girls. Like she was always doing something to them. Like when she hooked up with Ray, which drove Lexi insane, and later she was confronted with it, she said she's not only not physically attracted to Ray, she's not romantically involved, and she's just here to have fun.
She's beautiful, like I've said.
No, that's not what I'm asking. Are you sexually attracted to Ray? Are you romantically attracted to Ray?
No.
Okay, so then this is not about Ray. You're not into her.
And even in that goodbye with Xander, even though her ego was hurt, Xander was crying real tears that you would cry for the loss of a partner. But Vanessa was like, just hugging, like. There are no stakes for her. That's why it really makes me think, is she really into women? I don't know. Speculation again, girl. Sue me. But anyway, with Vanessa, even though the delusion is real, there is something very honest in her. And I say honest because when she was confronted with stuff, especially by Lexi, like there's an actual look of genuine shock on her face. Like,
Your brain, your heart, your mind seem very shut off to this process.
And why is that?
the shock is real, and she's also genuinely shocked that they all don't like her. She doesn't understand it.
I'm amazed at how well I'm connecting with pretty much every single one of them.
Are you guys all feeling like ready to make a decision? And
how do you feel about the decision?
What just happened?
You know, I don't know.
I just don't understand.
With Vanessa, part of me was like, aw, she doesn't know. It's like, kind of like Britney. It's like, Also, a very funny moment about that at their reunion when it first started, when she sat next down to Tiff.
Let's get down to it.
You guys look incredible.
It's so great to see you.
Tiff was like, And then she's like, It's like, what? Are you even aware that people don't like you? Girl. But I really like that Vanessa learned something at the end.
Biggest regret is that I made bad impressions on you guys. I came in here thinking, what an amazing thing. I'm gonna get to hang out with queer people. Like, this is a dream. And it didn't turn out like that. And I'm a big reason for that.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, it's objectifying. It's like your own needs are coming out like a monster and just trying to like grab onto people with claws. That's not love.
And from Vanessa, we move on to Xander.
I'm not here to keep talking about Vanessa.
Precisely, my dear. So let's talk about the mess that you got yourself involved in with Yoli. First of all, the chemistry between Xander and Yoli is not only real, it's fire, girl. It's palpable.
And I would hate to see that it ends with this experience.
Even poor heartbroken Mel had to admit it.
Watching you guys be lovey-dovey is not hard. It's easy to watch people be in love. That's a beautiful thing. And I even found myself like, that is very cute. Like, I think it's cute.
But at the center of this mess between Xander and Mel is the girl named Yoli. And speaking of Yoli, let's go back to the topic of this video, which is the signs of covert narcissistic behavior. So on to the sixth and final sign, which is the complete disregard for other people's feelings. And interestingly enough, if you go back and rewatch the season, you will see early on the signs that Mel always knew, which proves the point that deep down in our gut, we always know if the person we're with is not right for us, because she said it from the beginning.
It's not about if I want to marry her, I want to marry her.
What's holding you back?
I mean, I knew her as a friend before I knew her as a lover. Every time she's talked about another lover, it's been very similar. So I'm just like, why me? 8 weeks from now, however many weeks from now, you could come back and be like, actually, Mal, I know I told you you need to marry me. And then be like, I actually don't know. I'm actually in love with this other person.
I don't think it's possible for me to find another better person. I mean, Mal, I don't think we're going to break up. I do think that we'll choose each other.
And after Yoli came back from the 3 weeks of trial marriage with Xander, and she came to Mal and told her, I fell in love, but I didn't think it would happen. And Mel is looking at her like, I knew exactly it was going to happen.
I fell in love with Xander. I didn't think it would happen.
But the craziest thing with the show is that the ones who issued the ultimatum, you would think are very sure, ended up developing feelings for other people and being open about it.
My ex loves really hard. She's a serial monogamist. So yeah, part of me is annoyed with the ultimatum because I'm like, you're putting it on me, but I kind of am unsure about how you feel.
But the way Yoli kept playing both of them till the very end, like after accepting the proposal from Mel and saying, okay, what took you so long? Literally went to Xander and was like, la la la. Xander's like, how was your morning? You know, I don't know. You don't know? You just accepted the marriage proposal, girl. That's something big that happened that morning.
How's your morning?
You know, I don't know.
And also, sneaky, sneaky, sneaky. She hid the engagement ring because she wanted to know what happened with Xander first.
Mal proposed this morning. And I wanted to take the ring off before seeing you. Mainly because I didn't want it. I just still wasn't sure where you were at.
And you know how you know someone like Yoli is very covertly manipulative? It's because as she's delivering terrible news to Xander, who's in love with her, that she accepted the proposal from somebody else, she's stroking Xander's neck, like so sexy, like still pulling them in. And as I was watching this, I kept asking myself, like, why did Yoli accept the marriage proposal from Mel? Because, like everybody, I was shocked. I really did not think that was going to happen. But I think she was doing it to prove a point, to prove that she's loyal. Because throughout the season, Mel kept pointing to the fact that, I know my baby, she's like very fickle, she's going to keep falling in love with new people. And I think that hurt her ego, and she's trying to prove a point that she's loyal.
There's just a different sense of loyalty that I think I'm being drawn to.
Playing in my face, holding hands, doing all the things. That's wild as fuck. Hella disrespectful.
I do think that I did not realize we held hands as long as we did.
As long as we did is wild. That's a wild statement, bro.
Yeah, that thing, as long as we did, it's so crazy because that's not the point, which is a classic sign of covertly narcissistic behavior because not only are you negotiating with reality, you're focusing on the details to avoid the bigger picture. You're just deflecting and being defensive. And that denial of reality is also with the other covertly narcissistic person we're focusing on in the video, Mildred.
I'm doing really good. I'm happy that I'm happy, genuinely.
As if a happy person would be attacking everyone like that. Oh my God. She is the last person I would, equate with happiness. So the question we're left with is, how do we deal with someone who is covertly narcissistic? First off, you communicate your concerns without confrontation. Encourage them to seek treatment. Avoid excusing their behavior. And don't take their criticism personally, and don't try to change them because it is pointless, girl. And also, confirm your experiences with others. Talk to someone. Speaking of which, you definitely need to seek therapy because being around someone who's covertly narcissistic not only drains you, but it corrodes your self-esteem. And finally, be prepared to leave that relationship because, girl, You probably need to. Before we end this video, I want to take a moment to talk about gender representation and gender roles on the show, because I found it so eye-opening. I've been discussing the show with friends for the past 2 weeks, because on one hand, it challenged my ideas of non-binary, like people of a certain age. I found it, it took an effort to adjust to calling people by their pronouns because, that's not how I was brought up. But of course, I always want to do that because I never want to disrespect anyone. But I always like, is this real, the non-binary? But after watching this show, especially the more masculine presenting characters, in the cast, I found them like, these people are non-binary. Like, I'm always calling them he, she, they, like, I'm genuinely confused. But at the same time, there's a complete opposite, which is that I found it very fascinating that the couples, and maybe this is a casting decision, but they all played the binary roles. Like, every couple was like masculine and feminine. You can see that in the proposals, except Ray and Lexi, who were equally masculine and feminine. And funny enough, they're the only ones who both proposed to each other. Something else that's interesting, the femme ones in the couple, like Yoli, were always talking about, oh, I'm looking for a partner who can provide and pay for the IVF treatment to get a baby. And someone like Mel is like, I can't get married before I have, all the finances in place. They're really playing those binary roles. And also, there was a very little moment with Sam at the altar when Aussie was proposing. When she saw, after she kissed Aussie and there was lipstick on Aussie.
It's weird seeing you with lipstick. Let's get rid of some of that.
I don't know. It's just very interesting as a topic of discussion. So please let me know what you think of in the comments. And finally, like, comment, and subscribe. And please come see me in LA if you live in California. I'm playing on June 21st, 23rd, and 24th at the Actors Company in West Hollywood. Tickets linked below. And finally, I want to leave it with a couple of words that Xander said at the reunion, because when we, analyze these characters and talk about them and kind of, sometimes it feels like, are we shaming them? What are we just using their personal life for our entertainment? It's good to also highlight that these people put their lives out there.
Watching everyone's internal struggle and how really we all just put our hearts on the line so much.
So we appreciate you guys, but please, no more ultimatums. Stop pushing. Just surrender to the moment, girl.
We want to leave a little space. We be ourselves, just as our good, sweet, lovable selves, and let it come to us a little bit. Just let it come.